All right, we're about ready to start, I believe. Where'd that come? All right, welcome everyone. I'm Jim Eaton. To know Kelly since 2005. That's what? I've known Elton since the 90s. And I'd also like to welcome our other Avivo guest, Brittany Biggers. Brittany is the Director of Volunteer Services. Is that a good title for you? Oh, good. Liaison for all the things that we do as a hands-on. So this is the best, I would say, is representative of an agenda for our time together. And the first thing I want to say, we want this to be really quite conversational, although Kelly has a few of sort of orchestrated remarks, and maybe we'll set the groundwork for our conversation. But I hope we have enough time where you can be thinking about what you would really like to know more about as it relates to the whole world of homelessness, which is a very complex and convoluted kind of a universe out there. As part of our introduction, though, I'd like to comment that while Avivo is a very important partner, we have others in this room, and our church is blessed with at least 5 relationships that deal with this very big and complex subject of homelessness. And the 3 partners right now that are committed to be a part of this equation for the next 3 years, including Avivo, is Oasis for Youth, and we have Jane Wilson. Jane? There you are. Jane is the head of that outreach, and as the name implies, that deals with young people that are facing forms of homelessness. And we also have Elaine Sloan as the liaison between Urban Homeworks, which is another organization that deals with that very complex subject. And in addition, Ron Dobies and others have been involved with Freedom Works, and while Freedom Works also has a mission to deal with ex-offenders coming out, housing is a critically important component of that, and they are in the housing business, low-income housing business, and have 150 men and 5 women living in their facility as part of the outreach of Freedom Works. And also, Pete Welch is here, and some of you are familiar with the tiny homes that we built with Settled. So they're also another organization, and we're all kind of trying to provide sort of responses to this very, very big and complex issue of homelessness. So thank you for that. We also, we also have our mission people. Chris Norman, are you here? There's Chris. Do we have Danielle, who works with Elaine and Urban Homeworks? And Brad Stegeberg. Did I say that right? Okay, cool. Is the mission partner for Oasis for Youth. Okay, so let's get started. And if you look at this, the overall theme of this is understanding homelessness, especially focusing on the chronically unsheltered segment of the homeless population, which is represented by Avivo Village. Now, that's one segment of the homeless population, and those are people that live shelterless night to night in encampments or under bridges. That's the segment that the Avivo Village serves, but you also serve other segments too, and other Housing First outreaches. But we're going to mostly focus on Avivo Village in terms of our conversation. Pardon? Keep the mic in front of you. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. I'm not used to this. So with that, we're going to be looking at barriers to housing, some references around the economic inequalities that go with it, and social inequality. But first of all, let me just remind you what chronically homeless is: the element of the population of homelessness people that are living on the streets or shelterless, and they also have a significant mental or physical disability. That 25% of the homeless population as a whole, but they cost the communities that we live in, over 50% of the costs associated with being homeless. So you can see there's both a social and humane issue involved in being sensitive to the chronically homeless, and there's an economic one as well. So that's important for you to know. But with that, what I'm going to do is turn it over in terms of leading. I'd like to have you start by just giving them a little bit. How did you get into this business? You know, give them a bit of your. How did you? What was your path to this role, and then you can weave in Avivo.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. And thanks to all of you. I have to start with my most sincere gratitude to Meeting House Church and the many, many people who have volunteered or given and have supported Avivo's important and hard mission right now. You all are an absolute blessing to Avivo, and we appreciate you sincerely. So thank you. And thanks for having me here tonight as well to talk a little bit more about Avivo and the work that we do. I mean, my path is a path of getting a college degree and actually pursuing a field of work based on my degree. My degree is in vocational rehabilitation, so I'm like 3% or something, vocational rehabilitation. My dream was to serve people with disabilities and help people with disabilities have kind of equal footing with the rest of the community when it comes to living and working and quality of life. A lot of kind of what works for a person with a physical or a mental disability works for others with barriers to housing, barriers to employment, barriers to success, and my work expanded. I spent 20 years working at Goodwill Easter Seals, and Elgin was a board member when I worked at Goodwill Easter Seals from about 13 to, give or take. And actually, going back to the 90s, Goodwill Easter Seals served a lot of people with developmental disabilities and other disabilities. But early in the 90s, as I said, what works for serving people with disabilities also works for people with other barriers. And we were a collaborative partner with Catholic Charities, with the City of St. Paul, with many, many others on a McKinney-Vento homelessness project. I think it started in 1991, where we were serving people experiencing homelessness, and Avivo's role, Goodwill Easter Seals' role, was to help people get employment, so that people could keep housing and could have a higher quality of life and be hopeful. So I valued that work that we got to do very, very much and learned a lot about people experiencing homelessness. It looked a lot different in the 90s. And it was hard then, and what we are experiencing now, what the people we serve are experiencing now is like something we've never seen. And I will talk a little bit more about that as it relates to the opioid epidemic across our country. So that was my start. I've been at Avivo for, I guess my anniversary is next week. I'll be at Avivo 11 years. Avivo, yeah, thank you. You never thought I would make it, no?
No, it's not that.
No, I'm just teasing.
Enough about your job that really clashes.
So, Avivo's been around for over 60 years. We serve about 11,000 people every year. We serve in the areas of ending homelessness, substance use, and mental health treatment and recovery services. We're licensed as a post-secondary school, and we help about 4,000 people go to work every year. But as it relates to homelessness, that is the area of our work that has skyrocketed over the last, 10 years. We've been doing this work for a very long time. We do help about 2,000 people get permanently housed every year. So we know even though we're not a housing developer or a housing provider, we know we are having an impact on ending homelessness in Minnesota. And a lot of our work is tied to getting people housed, but then the hard work of helping people stay housed, people that are struggling with a substance use disorder or a serious mental illness, and then helping make those pathways to training and employment as well. So we serve families and children and adults in all of those areas. So, but I'm gonna carry on. I'm going to start with, this is one of the most important things for individuals who want to understand homelessness in Minnesota, across our country. I just think from a starting point of dignity in the belief of all people is just this, that homelessness It's an address. It's not a name. So it's not that homeless woman on the corner or the homeless man under the bridge. It is a person. It is a person experiencing homelessness, and that's one of the most kind of important things that we look at is it's a person first. And you know, I know I've talked to others before. One of the most important things we can do when we see someone is to look everyone in the eye as a sign of dignity and respect to a person that that their address is homelessness, not their name. So this is what Jim asked me to address tonight, and I'm going to do my best to hit these bullet points. What is homelessness? What are the barriers to housing? Why are there more people sleeping outside than there have been before? What is our approach to housing and homelessness? And how can our partnership, this fabulous partnership that we've embarked upon, you know, what can we do now that we're 3 years deep? How can we continue to increase impact together? How do we increase impact in our community even more? You know, I didn't know how many people would be here. Not everyone has to go around in the room and share your name. But if anyone is interested in just sharing, what motivated you to come tonight? You know, what do you want to learn more about? What more do you want to do? Yeah.
We have a second mic coming, but.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, Jim and I have been friends for 40 years, you know, and so, I mean, so I just have a lot of respect for what he has done with Avivo, and I wanted to find out more, so that's why I came.
How about some harder questions than that? That was a statement, Rod, not a question. Anybody else have, what do you want to walk out here with an insight that maybe you didn't have before? Anybody? There we go, good, thank you.
I'm wondering if there's possibilities of expanding the program that you have. I understand it's like one building now and such and completely full, and wondering if that's on the board yet or being worked towards, or what the options are with that.
Yeah, I will address that right now. So we are being invited to do an Avivo Village 2 and an Avivo Village 3 in another Avivo Village in South Minneapolis and an Avivo Village in St. Cloud. So we have submitted funding proposals to the state of Minnesota. We will find out in early 2024 if we receive that funding, and that is essentially design funding, like finding a site and, you know, starting, you know, the plans for constructing an Avivo Village 2 and potentially 3 in St. Cloud. St. Cloud actually has a location that they would gift to this project, and it will be a smaller scale 50-unit Avivo Village in St. Cloud. And we have to go in with our eyes wide open, and I will talk about some of the challenges, staffing being one of the biggest. We need to make sure if we do a second one that we can do it with excellence, and that does include 24/7, 365 staffing.
We could have someone, we've had a number of people in this room that have been to the Avivo Village, and I was wondering if one of you might be willing to sort of kind of reflect on what you sense there from your visit. Would anybody? I'm going to put Kevin on the spot because he's been there many times. He's one of our heroes, as Kelly knows.
Absolutely.
And Brittany knows.
Yeah, he was voluntold like
Say
all
what,
of us
Jeff?
are, right?
Avivo Village is amazing. One question that I'm going to throw at you, and then I'll talk just a little bit more, is I know that there are people, maybe not weekly, but monthly or whatever, that have come from other cities, states that have looked at it, and it's curious to me why I haven't heard that it's not popping up all over, and I'd be curious. But I guess the thing that strikes me most when I visited is the staff. It's a really hard job. They deal with a lot of different personalities. They do so with great respect. I'm just amazed at how they, and I haven't been in the building that much, but how they deal with the the people that are living there, but they address overdoses, they address babies, they address pets, they address every corner of what we would all be going through as human beings living our lives. And they do it in this small area with lots of people. And again, they do it with such love and respect. It's amazing to me.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that.
Anyone else like to just offer, that's kick the tires with us? Yeah, Elaine?
It made me wonder about how do you find, select, and equip staff, especially in these days?
Yeah. It is not easy, particularly, the overnight, what we call resident advocates and recovery advocates. Those are hard positions to fill. I will say that we are incredibly fortunate. I am the C player tonight. I'm sorry. The A and the B players are at the village and on the street, and they absolutely believe in the dignity of all human beings and in ending homelessness. And most have been doing this work a very, very, very long time. Many have lived experience themselves that makes them even more committed to this work. And then they attract others that, have that same commitment and that same passion. People that are, I shouldn't say younger, but newer to the field, that, I think I can say sexy at Meeting House, but, Avivo Village is really, it's sexy. It's the first of its kind in the country. People find out about it and they want to work there. So, for some of our more entry-level positions, people are drawn to it, but then it is really hard. And, if you're, doesn't matter what age you are, if you reverse an overdose, or you reverse 2 or 3 overdoses, that it's hard, and it's hard to come back to unless it kind of depends on how you're wired. So we do extensive onboarding. We do a lot of shadowing, extensive onboarding and training, and we provide a whole host of wraparound services. That's the other thing that's unique is that it's a service-rich environment. So nursing staff through our partnership with the Native American Community Clinic, Avivo, therapists and licensed alcohol and drug counselor, and our housing case managers and other partners on site that helps build community for our staff as well. But it is hard. And do we have all the answers? We don't. Actually, I'm going to share with you. Sorry, it's been a really long day, and I'm going to share, this is an example of, one of our leaders was telling me that we had a person who came to their shift and they had lost their car keys. So they Ubered to work, and then they insisted we pay for their Uber. It's hard to find employees right now, that are utterly committed to this work and have those kind of work skills that we're building in others. Anything else? All right, I'll keep, oh wait, I'll let you advance the slide. All right, I will not read aloud from this, but this gives you a bit of the history of homelessness. Homelessness was thought of as a character flaw, a moral deficiency, and it probably has been. That's probably creeped into more recent times as well. You can see things that happened in our world that also impacted homelessness. Will you go one more? But here's the key bullets. This is why people are experiencing homelessness. Anyone else? I know there's others in the room doing this work. Is there anything we're missing?
Kelly, I would just add that it's more than one usually.
Yeah.
For the chronic, they'll get 2, 3, 4 of those and have extreme trust issues.
Mm-hmm. Oh, can you not see the screen? Oh, sorry. So
everybody
I
read
will.
the
Yeah,
screen?
sorry. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Let me walk through the bullet points. My apologies. I try not to read. So people are homeless for mental health barriers. Usually it's serious and persistent mental illness, lack of affordable housing. And I would say in our state and other places in the country, it's not just affordable housing, it's deeply affordable housing. You know, a lot of affordable housing across our state and country is tax credit housing, where the structures are financed at, 30% area median income, and, it's, yes, it's affordable, but it's not deeply affordable. We're serving people experiencing unsheltered homelessness that have no income. They may have some Social Security income, but they cannot afford $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month in rent. And HUD subsidies are harder and harder to come by. Ongoing chemical health concerns, a long history of trauma, and that's generally multiple traumas, generational poverty, unemployment, systems issues, institutional racism, and an overall lack of support systems. Most of us in this room would never become homeless if we lost our employment.
Come in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, we got people on camera.
What percentage of the people you help are veterans?
I have a slide later in this that I think will show that, but it's approximately 5%. Our statistics, with the exception of the Native American population, Native American homelessness is disproportionate compared to the overall population of Native Americans in our community. About 60% of who we see at Avivo Village are Native, and they're about 2 or 3% of our population. If you want to go one more. So I'm going to just steal from the Minnesota Department of Health because they are looking into the opioid epidemic, homelessness, and kind of how that is intertwined in what we're experiencing right now. So lots of people use drugs for lots of reasons. We are seeing, so Avivo Village is a low barrier shelter. And what that means is the only criteria to move in is that you have to be sleeping outside. You need to be unsheltered. Outside, a place not meant for habitation. But we don't expect you to stop using to come inside. If you have a disease, a disease of substance use, coming indoors is not going to cure your disease. You don't go off your chemo when you move indoors. You're not going to quit using, and we're not going to expect you to quit using, and we are going to help you use safe. We have a commitment to high fidelity harm reduction. Our belief is that you have to be alive if you are going to go to treatment. So, and what is happening in our community with opioids is like we've never seen. We've been a treatment provider for 63 years, and our success rate in people completing treatment has never been lower. And Avivo has always served people experiencing homelessness. We've always served people who have, on average, been through 6 treatments before coming to our program. And fentanyl is just a completely different animal. We were meeting today trying to put a budget together for next year, and we reversed more overdoses on our main campus, not at Avivo Village, but at our main campus in the last 2 weeks than we have in the previous 6 years. It is a completely different animal, and it is killing people. I think the other thing is that the xylazine is being mixed in with fentanyl, and that is, you are not going to reverse an overdose if xylazine is in the fentanyl that you've taken.
Kelly, one of the questions that I think this would help clarify, when people think of Avivo, they think of the 100 homes.
Yeah.
But you're talking about in terms of people coming in at all different stages and things like that. Do you have other housing, overnight housing for folks that like your folks that are out on the street can temporarily give them? They don't go directly into a house. There's some stages, isn't that correct?
Yes, and advance to the slides, but yes, so Avivo Village, and I'll share kind of the outcomes, and I think we've housed 154 people from Avivo Village. We have a variety of housing. We provide what's called transitional recovery housing as well. We have 240 beds of transitional recovery housing for men, women, and women and their children that are in our treatment program because they're generally homeless when they start our treatment. So some people will come from Avivo Village to Avivo's treatment program with housing. And then we partner with other providers like Beacon Interfaith Housing. We partner with them at about 4 properties where we that are designed for individuals experiencing homelessness, where we can move people from Avivo Village into housing or directly from the streets to housing. And Aon and Common Bond and a variety of other. We partnered with Urban Homeworks in the past and others as well. YouthLink we're partnering with providing mental health services. Do you want to advance? So these are insights from talking with individuals experiencing homelessness, and they have these conversations with people that Avivo is serving in at Avivo Village. So adverse childhood experiences are ACEs. Has anyone heard of ACEs? Probably. Yeah. So many of the people we are serving, trauma can be traced back to childhood. Do you want to advance? And again, I won't read any. Maybe you can't see this, but again, this is what I'm talking about around fentanyl and the mortality rates in people experiencing homelessness compared to the general population. And this is, by race. So you can just see in Minnesota, the average mortality rate is 218, and people experiencing homelessness 663. And then most disproportionately is Native American. I'll have you advance to the next one. I've got some dense slides here. And then the deaths from substance use are 10 times higher among people experiencing homelessness than the general population. We are working to keep people alive. I'll have you keep advancing. So this was one of the things, the definition. What is the definition of homelessness? And those of us that are doing this work, the definition's important because that's how we get funded. People that we serve have to many times meet the chronic homeless definition. So these 2 criteria, sleeping in a place not designated for or ordinarily used as a regular sleeping accommodation, living in a shelter designated to provide temporary living arrangements. So 1 full year of sleeping in a shelter or 4 episodes of homelessness in the last 3 years that add up to 12 months. And it needs to be documented by a third party. So we do have to prove people are homeless enough in some instances. Not at Avivo Village, but in some of the other housing that we help people move into. So that's an important definition. I'll have you go to the next one. So I think we've talked about this a little bit, but Jim asked kind of what is our approach? And I keep saying it, but high fidelity harm reduction and evidence-based practices are housing first. We believe you have to, to consider employment, to consider school, to consider recovery, you have to have housing first, Maslow's hierarchy. You have to have housing to consider anything else. And we are saying it out loud. It has not been popular, previously, but high fidelity harm reduction. We believe in treating addiction as a disease and helping people over time look at recovery. Street outreach, Avivo has a 17-person street outreach team, as do a lot of other providers. We're all in this work together of reaching out to people that are in encampments, that are sleeping outside, developing relationships over time, and helping people move indoors. Low barrier emergency shelter, I talked about that a lot. Permanent supportive housing, housing supports to keep people housed once they move into permanent housing, access to treatment, access to training, and access to employment. So I threw a couple pictures in at the last minute. Go to the next, Avivo Village. I mean, we are focusing on, unsheltered to sheltered to the next right thing, and that's what we keep, that is kind of our mantra. Move inside first, and then the next best thing, whatever that might be for you, and as you define. So here's some data about Avivo Village. Again, sorry, I have a dense slide. We've helped 66 people get connected to health insurance. So we have it's called a MinSure Navigator. So we can get people as soon as they move in, connected to insurance so that they can get health care. I know many of you have heard this story, but it is still one of my very favorite stories. We opened in December 2020 in the height of COVID. One of our very first residents was a 22-year-old woman who was 4 months pregnant. She had received no prenatal care. She was severely malnourished from having morning sickness. And so she moved in. The nurse from the Native American Community Clinic served her right away, provided a prescription so she could keep food down. She had a warm meal. She slept in a warm bed. And we were able to move her into housing in May, right before she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. So I think I have another slide that shows the number of babies that might have been born outside, or who knows what would have happened. So getting connected to health insurance right away is a key thing. You can see the age range, 20 to 65. I will also share the age of people experiencing homelessness is going up. We are seeing way more seniors experiencing homelessness. And it's heartbreaking. We've served 19 different tribal affiliations. We've served 431 participants since opening. Yeah, I've got another slide I'll show you. Yep, I will show you those exits. So 154 permanently housed, and 74 out of 154 have been housed within one of our programs and our partnerships. If you want to hit the next one. I threw in another picture. So this is Avivo Village is 100 tiny homes. It's in 4 quadrants. There are 4 different colors of the neighborhoods. They're loosely based on the Native American medicine wheel. We have a collaboration with White Earth Nation. They helped with the design of the layout. You don't see it here, and this was before we finished, but every home has an address on the door, like all of us have on our door, and then our streets are in English and Ojibwe. And our residents and White Earth helped us name those streets. So, yes, yeah, having an address that is not homelessness is a big deal. If you want to hit the next one. So 154 were housed. 42 went back to jail or another institution. 119 exited back to homelessness. And this is a high success rate, but still not.
There you go.
I just wanted to ask a question about how you engage people who are experiencing homelessness in sort of the feedback to what's working well and what's not, because I'm just kind of curious how you incorporate that into some of the decisions. I mean, it was interesting hearing you talk about White Earth helping with the naming conventions and the layout, but I'm wondering, do you also seek feedback from, those 154 people who have had success, and also the people who have not, maybe the factors that have impacted those?
So the whole design, and I should have said it in the beginning, I was talking more broadly than Avivo Village, but I do we always come back to Avivo Village a little bit. So the whole design of Avivo Village was designed out of feedback from people with lived experience. So there were a lot of community advocates involved. Avivo was very involved with the original Wall of Forgotten Natives in 2018. If people remember, it was kind of one of the first visible encampments in our community, and our street outreach team started developing relationships over time, just building relationships, talking with people, kind of getting their input, and then we helped 136 people from there move into housing, and that forged a long-term relationship that we've had with Red Lake, and then to expand to White Earth. So that helped, and then when Powderhorn Park had a large encampment, the state asked us to do kind of just a demographic count. So what we did is we knocked on tents, we had conversations with people, we asked and found out why people were homelessness, and used that information to inform how we designed Avivo Village. And then we do have a resident advisory group at Avivo Village that kind of continues to inform kind of what services we provide, the food, that's always one of the biggest things. We did a taste test to choose our food vendor at Avivo Village. We had 60 people living in a hotel that we moved from the the Sable Bridge, when the 3rd precinct was on fire, the state asked us to move people to a hotel, so we did. And then they taste tested 3 vendors, and we chose Involve Minnesota, which is a not-for-profit that does a lot of food catering for organizations. So yeah, that voice is the most important voice in our decision making. So you can see, typically when we help a person move into a housing, it takes about 90 days. You can kind of see that's kind of what we thought would happen, but it's been kind of all over the map, how long it takes people to find housing.
Hey, Jim, let's make sure it gets on camera.
Yes, the case manager does serve people long term.
Okay, because they still need guidance, right? They're still not totally ready. even
That's
though-
when the hard work begins.
Yeah,
You know, I think, we graduate from college and the hard work begins when we actually get that first job. Similar, Avivo Village is a safe space. It's a bubble for some people. People don't want to leave. We have to encourage people to move out of Avivo Village and get that first apartment on their own. But addiction and mental illness and other barriers are hard, and so our housing case managers do stick with people very long term. If you want to hit the next one. A couple more pictures. This is what a unit looks like. They're 8 by 8. Everyone gets brand new sheets and comforter and rug when they move in. Sometimes a quilt, indeed. Throw one another amazing partnership right here, Susan and her quilting crew. So they're not big. It's kind of amazing what people can do. It's a bit like a dorm room. We have artists, people can make these 8 by 8 units very, very homey. And some people can pack them with as many belongings as possible and hardly have room for themselves. If you want to keep going, the demographic breakdown, as you can see, Native American far outpaces all other. And then we've always been about 50-50 male and female. This is an adult shelter. Every adult gets their own unit. We talk about the 3 Ps. Those are that are important to individuals. It's person, pets, and possessions. So we let you define gender how you want to define gender. We let you move in with whomever you want to call family. We have storage containers outside of the building, so you do not have to give up any of the few possessions that you have, and we do allow you to move in with your pet, your domestic pet. If you want to go to the next slide.
That makes us all kind of wonder what that means, yeah.
Well, I'll show you. We had one cockatoo, but it's mostly been dogs and cats. So we stood this up on December 20 during COVID, so that was a big part of this as well. So each of the bathrooms are individual, the showers are individual, so that they can be cleaned after every person as well, to prevent the spread of COVID. And then each of the units are individual. So when people moved in, people were eating their meals in their units versus together and building community. It's fun. Now we can build community, and we are, and a lot of that is thanks to you as well. Hit the next one. One more slide. So the other 2 colors of our 4 communities. Sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. If you want to hit the next one. So here's to date. 430 people served, 155 exited to safe permanent housing. We reversed 134 overdoses. And we've lost 5 people. And one of those was just this past Saturday. And it was xylazine. So it was hard. And we knew what would happen. Our success rate is very, very high. But we have lost 5 people to date. We went almost 2 years and successfully reversed every single overdose. And then when xylazine started getting introduced more, and you don't want to see what happens to a person when they taken xylazine either. I did on Saturday yet again, and it's horrible, just horrible. So 18 babies have been born at Avivo Village, not at Avivo Village, but they got the prenatal care they needed while they were pregnant, and they were able to have their baby born at a hospital versus if had they been outside, who knows? If they would have gotten to a hospital, who knows if the baby would have survived. And we've had 19 pets, and I'm very excited. We just made a connection. If any of you support Mission Animal Hospital or Pet Haven, we've got 2 new connections. Mission Animal Hospital is going to come on site and do mobile pet care so that our pets can be spayed and neutered and make sure they have their rabies shots. And if they have anything, we have a vet right now, speaking of vets, we have a vet right now who did not move in into, he waited for a unit at Avivo Village. He stayed outside longer than he might have had to so that he could bring Rocky, his dog, in with him. But Rocky has a growth on his back, one of his back legs, and so now we have this wonderful new vet partnership, and they're gonna take care of Rocky. So if you love pets, that's a great organization to support. And we're also partnering with Pet Haven, who is going to foster our pets if a resident has to go to the hospital. Or, you know, sometimes people have unlawful detainers and they need to spend 2 weeks or 2 months or in jail, and Pet Haven will make sure that they don't lose their pets while they do the things that they need to do, like take care of their health or take care of, you know, things that will, you know, prevent them from taking that next best step. So, wonderful new.
Can I
new
just
partners.
make a quick comment? Just the level of dignity that you are talking about. I mean, I've done mission work for a lot of years, and the level of which the specific things that you are focusing on have not really been focused on dealing with issues of homelessness. It's been, okay, can we make sure they have food? Can we make sure they have a roof over their house? But the things that you're doing that creates thriving, creates life, creates hope. I mean, it's remarkable, and I think that's important to recognize. They're not just housing people. They're providing a possibility of moving forward. This is what makes them unique and different from a lot of other organizations.
Yeah, it is unique, but it won't be unique for long.
Hopefully not.
You know, it won't be. I mean, I think everybody wants to do this. You know, I never wish for another pandemic, but it did certainly allow us to do something unique and in a shorter period of time than it would have taken without it. So we did get to listen to who we serve, and we did get to stand up something that's very unique and different. You know, so I talked some important things. You know, it is the 3 Ps. We talk about it all the time: person, pets, and possessions. Really, really critical. The other thing that we see that this allows for, which is different than a traditional shelter as well, is that when people come inside, they are exhausted and typically sleep for 3 days. They sleep. You know, we do the minimal amount of paperwork. They sleep. They get up and use the restroom. Maybe get some food. They sleep. And usually around day 3 is when we typically, you know, get to know that person even better and then kind of dig into all the rest of the necessary paperwork and other things. And a traditional shelter has always been, you know, that you can sleep there, but you have to be out during the day. Well, most people experiencing unsheltered homelessness are awake at night because it's not safe to fall asleep necessarily. So another reason people have pets. It's safer to sleep outside with a pet that's aware. So that's another, you know, just a really important piece is that ability to sleep and adjust your circadian rhythm over time.
Kelly, I think I'm looking at my watch, and we.
Have I rambled far too
No,
long?
you're not. I think this is, but I do want to get to the point of our
Yeah.
community here engagement. I don't
Yep,
know if
keep
that
going.
slide
Let's see what we
is
have.
coming or not.
All right, that's the next slide. Right on cue, Jim.
Do you want to comment on those, though, briefly?
Yeah.
Because.
So we really, I mean, I talk to others on our team as well. I mean, I think our partnership with you has been absolutely amazing. And as I said, we are so appreciative. And the fact that, you know, you want to have even greater impact with Avivo is inspiring. And it's not always easy to, like, well, and I'm looking at Brittany, our Director of Volunteer Services. You know, it's not always easy to come up with those things that have deeper impact than putting together hygiene kits and street outreach kits and culturally specific street outreach kits. I mean, and that is, we still need that, and we need it in great abundance. So we, you know, we still want to do all those things, but how do we go deeper? And the one thing, you know, one of the key things, and something that is kind of plaguing all of us in this work, is that the rates to do this work do not cover our costs. And you all and your others in your, you know, in your community have social capital that Avivo doesn't have, that the people we serve don't have, and us partnering with you on advocacy for, writing letters or calling or doing a day on the Hill or, inviting someone to take a tour of Avivo Village to learn more. I mean, and we can make that easy and kind of support that. But coming from, not an organization that is that is doing this work, but partnering with us on advocacy in our community could be really, really significant. I mean, fundraising always, small circles, introducing people to the work that we do. This work has, as I said, and we've never experienced anything like it in our 60 years. We are going to have a deficit that you could drive a truck through in 2023, which is why I was in a budget meeting most of the day. We are utterly committed to continuing to do this work, but it's just harder and harder. It just is getting more and more expensive, and the government systems that fund it cannot pivot quickly enough to make changes, and it requires voices in addition to ours to make those changes, or another pandemic, and we don't want that. I'm not inviting that either. Skilled volunteers is always something. Nursing, we partner really closely with the Native American Community Clinic, but they are experiencing a shortage of nurses like others are as well. So we could use support with nursing services. We could use support from barbers or others or other, artists, individuals that would add services to Avivo Village. The other thing that came up, I don't know if you all partner with bridging at all. Bridging's costs have gone up, so we have to pay more to get a unit furnished for someone when they do move out. They move out of Avivo Village with a few things, and bridging is a phenomenal partner of ours to help people get their, get a home set up. But our costs to do that have gone up. So supporting bridging and donating, furniture and or other support kind of in partnership with Avivo could be significant as well. And Brittany, what else?
I will comment that, or Bridget, you can talk about what the kids have done. I mean, the little things that we've done.
Yeah, so what Jim was just saying is the youth group here has been a phenomenal partner as well as the adults. And so one of the things we've done to add dignity over the last couple of years, Nicole and her middle schoolers have been able to put together candy bags. So it started off as a Valentine, then it was a Christmas, then it was a Halloween. I think now we are 8 or 9 holidays later, and they so look forward to those bags of candy and just being remembered and being thought of. This church has really supported Avivo. I guess I could stand up. This church has really supported Avivo from Bob Dom helping to plant vegetables, and we have a vegetable garden at the village that Jim McKevin helped with this past year, and the youth came out and planted. And so just that support, a lot of prayer support as well, is really appreciated, that advocacy piece. If you have a skill like a barber, we would love you to come in and cut hair. Or if you have a hairdresser that wants to come in and spend the day just cutting hair, a haircut can make all the difference.
Or doing nails.
Doing nails, yeah, any of those. I will say that we have attempted at some of the more one-on-one individual connections over the last couple of years. And the population we're serving is in a place of kind of the things Kelly mentioned, but there's a lot of trauma. And so that one-on-one relationship is really difficult. And so our staff work really hard day in and day out to establish that. But our residents are less willing to let someone from the general community come in and try to also establish that one-on-one relationship. So we have proposed some of those opportunities to our residents. But going back to your question earlier about asking the residents, we don't want to bring anything into their home and into their lives that is not going to benefit them. And if it's going to cause more harm, we we don't want to put that on them either. So I know we have taken, I've gotten a lot of feedback from the church as a whole about different opportunities, and we've taken them, and some of them are accepted and some of them aren't. We had a poetry group for a little bit, and then the people moved on, and we didn't have any more interest. And so I appreciate any opportunities or any offers. I have a couple just on each table of some of those general needs that we have, some one-time needs. The men's group came and painted this past year, so one of those colors, I think the green, was it green? Yeah, it was green. That back corner. The green community. So that's an ongoing need. A few times a year just to come in and paint to help assemble those harm reduction kits. Things like that. But I've got a couple flyers out on your table, so my email is on there. Email is the best way to reach me. I will apologize if you email me between now and Christmas. The chance of me getting back to you is very low because I have 310 donors who are emailing me daily about our Adopt a Family program. So give me till January, and then I will be as engaged as you want me to be. But yeah, thanks, Kelly.
Couple things. We continue to provide the welcome kits. That's been, and Kevin is, and I and others have been very involved in that, and we'll continue to. Every new person that moves in gets hygiene products and sometimes clothes and socks and things like that. The Nicole Smalley's kids have done great things at Valentine's Day, Christmas. Cards, birthday cards, little things that show these people are real people has been really important that this church community has done. The men's group is providing pumpkin pies and whipped cream, both Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Very nice.
So it isn't only the big things, it's just the subtle things, and that's what's exciting. But so
We're also going to put up we hope to put up a dog run as well. So if anyone wants to be part of us putting up a dog run.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was just wondering about like other donations in terms of like, you talked about the importance of pets. So like, what about pet food? Because I know for a lot of even, some of the food banks that pet food becomes actually is really hard to get a hold of. So I was wondering, is that something that you have or that you need donations, whatever?
Yeah, so we get some donations, and then we have had to purchase it. This new relationship with Mission Animal Hospital, we are sending them a wish list to hopefully get food and leashes and all of those. We're putting together Christmas wish lists for our pets across not just Avivo Village, but all of our properties. But thank you. We would let you know if that doesn't play out, but I hope it does. Online wish list. Oh yes, online wish list. On our website, there is our ongoing wish list, and then there's like the needs of the moment, kind of those high priority things that we're running low on or that we really need in particular as well. Thanks, Brittany.
Oh,
you alluded one time to some advocacy with the government. Could you expand what is really going on as far as the relationship there? The reason I raise that is, first, there's a good deal of misunderstanding, I think, that goes on with public policy groups as to what the problems really are and where they really are at, and what's happening from the standpoint of like Avivo or anybody else. So the result, when you get a vacuum like that, is a lack of understanding by policymakers. And could you just comment about what type of relationship there might be or not be, and what you see as how it could assist Avivo?
Yeah, I mean, I think I relate to it as a pace of change. How what is going on in our community and the government's ability to respond in a timely fashion, if you will. So for us, the biggest barriers are the rates. So we all hear there's a state surplus, and there was a lot of money that went out to a lot of different places. But there weren't systems change. Systems change wasn't made that allows Avivo and other organizations to do this work to be sustainable. So we need rate changes. Substance use rate changes haven't changed in 8 years. And it's much more expensive. I mean, take fentanyl out of the equation and what's going on in our community. You have to give staff raises in 7 years. There's everything, increases over that period of time, and there's not been a rate increase. And there needs to be a rate increase for substance use. There needs to be rate increases for housing supports, et cetera.
Like, I guess what I was alluding
Yep,
to
sorry.
is what degree of understanding is there between what's actually factual and what is in going out amongst people who just say, oh, kind of a give up attitude, whereas there are people who are in policy-making decision roles that I don't think probably have as great of a understanding of the situation. And so I'm wondering, is there any endeavor there to try just to assist in that, or is there any opportunity for something there where there can be assistance given so that there's a better understanding among policymakers or people when they're running for office or anything else, so that they're not misstating the facts and not misstating the problem, et cetera?
Yes, I do think there is a need for it, and I always believe there's an opportunity for educating and understanding. I think what happens is, I know. I do think that even when policymakers do have an idea of what needs to change, most of the dollars are allocated to a state entity that then has to turn that into a grant, and then they have to put, 1,000 different requirements, and or they need to spread it out so thinly that it doesn't have any impact. I would also say that this feeding, what was the organization that, defrauded, that gave all of us that is doing any of this good work a black eye, and so then it created even more kind of hoops to jump through and more auditing, and then the state doesn't have the capacity to do that auditing, and so it slows down. Even if there's money available, then it slows it getting to the organizations that are doing the work.
Great.
Sorry if I'm not catching you. I need to.
Well, and I'm just, yeah.
I think there's a lack of understanding, just the things that you're talking about. First time I was at a Avivo meeting, I think there's a lack of understanding by people who are in a position that can be helpful, because they're not understanding exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, and I think, to what you're naming, that's part of the ongoing advocacy work. My spouse also is a licensed drug and alcohol counselor, and, so there's advocacy.
He's not looking for work, is he?
So, yeah, right, that's the important thing. You need folks to be able to help support the work. But there is, even what you're naming, there have been deep shifts in both providing care for persons experiencing homelessness and how even we think about addiction and recovery, et cetera. So there's deep advocacy work, but just like, you showed at the beginning how there are narratives that go back for a long time about, and there's ways that theology has impacted how we speak about one another. What does it mean to honor the dignity of God in one another? And so there's ongoing growth, and that's part of why we're so grateful you all have been here. We're so grateful you all have been here tonight, because, us as a church body getting to learn together and to understand, oh my goodness, yeah, of course I affirm the dignity of God and my neighbor, right? Of course we do. And yet you can realize sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't see something in a particular way. Do you have a quick comment you want to add in? Yes.
Quick comment. If you were here for Red State Christians, these issues are not power or money. And what speaks in our society, it's power and money.
Yep. And, as we're reminded, it's not by power or by might, but by spirit. And so part of this work is to help us keep learning, to be open, to see things in new ways. So we're so grateful for you all. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for the good work. We're honored to be able to partner with you. And just as an encouragement to, thank you to Elaine, to the Missional Ministry Resource Team. And, as we move into this time here, this is going to be an ongoing space for us to learn, to pray, and to serve together in intentional ways. So invite you to please be intentional about paying attention to the e-news and other resources and opportunities, including but not limited to ways that you can be bringing things to as a collective to help to be part of things at our Women's Christmas Brunch. The theme is Home for the Holidays, speaking about how Christ makes home with us and what does it mean to care about people who are without home. And so again, just a huge thank you to you all. I would just like to close this space for us. If we could just say a prayer together, both a blessing of our ministry partners and then just for God's ongoing Spirit's work in our lives and then for our siblings who are without homes even tonight. So pray with me. God, we give you thanks that you are a God who put on flesh and dwelt amongst us. As we move in this time of Thanksgiving and for us the celebration of Christmas, might we never lose sight of the fact that you are God who has known what it is to not have a place to lay your head. And may that be a deepening call then to us to be a people who turn towards our siblings and towards all of your children with just deeper hearts of understanding and compassion and prayerfully discern your Spirit's invitations to us of ways we can partner with and support and uplift the good work that is being done by these ministry partners and beyond. God, we specifically pray for those who are serving on the front lines of honoring the dignity and lives of those who are experiencing homelessness. God, we pray that they would be uplifted and supported in the work, that the traumas and the just griefs and hopes and longings that they have, that the resources and the things that they need to continue that good work would be furthered. And God, we want to deeply affirm that we know that our siblings who are on the street are your children. And so we pray that, believing you are a God who also does the work of miracles through systems in all sorts of different ways, we pray for those who are unhoused this night. We pray for housing. We pray for safety. For those dealing with traumas and generational, just things that their bodies are carrying. May they know the dignity and worth of their own story, that they deserve to be housed, that they deserve goodness. And God, continue to open us all as individuals, as a church, and as a society, that we might be a place more deeply where home is possible for folks. So it's in your name that we gather, and we pray. Amen. Thank you so much again. Let's give them a round of applause, and thank you for being here. Thanks to Elaine and the team. Thanks, Jim, for everything. Okay, take care.
Thank you. Yeah, how are you?
How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
A little different than Goodwill.
People who have retail revenue have no idea what it's like to run a not-for-profit without it. Still the best model.
I've worked with Living Well, worked with disabilities.
Yeah.
Same issue with the government. Girl.